Welcome back to the marketplace. Now, total financial irregularities in the public sector organizations in 2021 stood at 17.48 billion cedis, according to the latest Auditor General's report. Now, this is a 36.0% or 4.6 billion cedi rise from 12.8 billion cedis in 2020. As we're showing you on the screen, the irregularities included outstanding debts, loans, recoverable, credit, power sales irregularities, which stood at 16.3 billion cedis, cash irregularities related to the misapplication of funds, budget overruns, payments not authenticated, and payment of board allowances to council members without ministerial approval amounted to 505.80 million cedis. Payroll irregularities amounted to 8.24 million cedis. They were caused by the failure of management to exercise due diligence. Then tax irregularities related to failure to pay statutory tax deductions on due dates and non-deduction of applicable taxes amounted to 23.57 million cedis. Now, contract irregularities mainly related to payment for construction projects not undertaken by various public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions amounted to 283.77 million cedis. Those are monies that we have wasted, misappropriated. And the latest Auditor General report also indicates that procurement irregularities in 2021 amounted to a little above 306 million cedis. Now, these irregularities, it said, occurred as a result of management's non-compliance with the provisions of the Public Procurement Act as amended. And here to react is procurement specialist, Dr. Kangsing Pente. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for your time. I want your reaction to this report.
Thank you so much, Gary. I have gone to the report. Of course, not entirely, but specifically to the aspects that relate to the procurement irregularity. To the extent that the financial impact of those irregularities has been assigned, totally 307 million Ghana cedis. I have taken the opportunity to also look at what was related to stocks, and stocks accounted for almost about 173,000 Ghana cedis, and then contract also being a component of a procurement capability at a total of 283 million Ghana cedis. The sum of the irregularity and the corresponding financial impact.
Okay, I think we may have lost Dr. Kangsing Pente there, but he was reacting to a report from the Auditor General, basically speaking about how much we lost as a result of procurement irregularities, and in 2021, that figure amounted to 306 million cedis. We're trying to make sense of this. Hopefully, we'll get him back to react. Are you on, Doc? Can you hear me, Dr. Pente?
I think we lost connection.
Yes, yes.
So, I try to attribute the irregularity under procurement to include that which was accounted for in stock as well as contract. The reason being that these are critical dynamic capabilities within the broad headline procurement. So the total financial impact arising from those irregularities is approximately 591 million Ghana cedis. And that is a 3.0% of the total infraction that were reported across the various MMDA bodies in the sum of about 17.5 billion Ghana cedis. This is significant. The report has actually tried to assign reason for a specific case of procurement. A significant number of that figure that is about 219 million Ghana cedis was as a result of the fact that procurement was conducted without specific record to the Public Procurement Authority. What does this mean? Is it a case that if the Public Procurement Authority had been engaged to seek specific clearances, either by way of the method to invoke to conduct those specific sourcing initiatives, those financial impact could not be assigned. So therefore, what it means is that the agency are not relying on the provisions in the Act.
And that's stated in the report. It talked about non-compliance with the provisions, and so it makes you wonder if there's also no oversight over some of these transactions, and if there are no stiffer systems or sanctions in place to check some of these breaches.
So the report was very silent on whether or not it was a result of management oversight from the respective MMDA. But as the report has indicated, in as much as those specific non-compliance issues were identified, one could infer that there was lacking management oversight. It is the reason the report has recommended that management to put in the appropriate measures to make sure that those incidents do not recur.
And what would be those appropriate measures, do you think?
So for me, looking at the entire report, one of the key things I have come to terms with is the fact that there is a likelihood, looking at the financial impact, what it means is that those procurement activities were conducted without recourse to procurement authority, in line with the Act 2016 as amended 914. What it means is that it is likely that processes were actually, the procurement methods, the appropriate methods were actually used. However, without clearances or without compliance with the Act, which is an infraction. So, therefore, what I am of the opinion is, my opinion is that the procurement department, and for that matter, the function within the respective MMDA, need to ensure that they are compliant with the Act.
Right.
Management must have to put in measures to enforce the provisions of the Act anytime there is a procurement initiative to be embarked on. So the lacking management oversight, I think, is a source of concern. It is important that the Act is respected in a manner that we do not find ourselves in the situation that we're in. A few recommendations also is it a case that there are interferences within, prior to the processes, for which reason the responsible officers managing the procurement process failed or were obstructed. I'm using obstruction advisedly. They were obstructed to allow their professional capability to come to bear, wherein they have knowledge that the authority had to be engaged in compliance with the Act, but for some obstructions, or as a result of some obstructions within their respective functions, they failed to comply with the Act. So it is important that the Act is respected. And two, I think that there's a need for the respective MNDAs to continue to do capacity building and then also provide some autonomy to the respective professionals that are managing procurement in the MNDA.
All right.
Over time, and give them some autonomy to be able to conduct their job in a manner that will adhere to the benefit of the respective MNDAs and the country at large.
Just 1 minute, and I would appreciate if you could answer that in 1 minute, this next question. Where is the accountability? Are people getting punished for these breaches? Isn't that also one of the reasons why we are seeing that boards managements are not acting?
Sure. I think historically, if you look at the page 3 of the report, that has to provide an analysis of the prior year infractions or the irregularities therein. you could see that over time, a specific infraction relating to procurement from 2020 to 2021 has increased by about 36%. What it means is that management is not taking steps to ensure that there is accountability. To the extent that where there are breaches arising from process irregularities that have such significant financial impact, it's important that there is what I will refer to as an audit tracker that will ensure that the issues that crystallized, that were identified as actions that needed to be closed in the prior audit.
Okay.
If those actions were taken, those audit actions were closed, it will be a lesson learned, and therefore going into 2021, there will be an improvement rather than a degradation of the prior year irregularity that has that significant financial impact. So yes, responsibility lies with the entity head that was supposed to have ensure oversight, to ensure the appropriate controls are enforced.
This is certainly worrying. Dr. Kangsing Pente, thank you so much for your analysis on this subject of financial misappropriation, be it procurement, be it the others that we've talked about this afternoon. I appreciate your time with us.